Okay, remember that they're changing my voice. First, I'd like to point out that I am a brain surgeon's son, not a brain surgeon, not a neurologist, not a sociologist, not a psychologist. But the things I'm going to discuss in this video are going to make it crystal clear that there is a serious problem in regards to brain function and the so-called nurture, the cultural conditioning and social engineering that we see here in society. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to point out, okay, you see this clueless, right? That is textbook clueless. It's so understood that that's a kind of bewildered, confused, clueless look that's even in the movie Clueless. And her ace friend here and her other friend, they're clueless in their own way. She's kind of like smiling, but she's out of touch. This has to do with trance-like states. Okay, you don't need to put someone, hook someone up to a machine like a cartoon for them to be in a trance-like state. Okay, so we look over here. Okay, what do the trances do here? What do we think of when we think of Nicki Minaj acting like that? Come like too many glasses of wine, what have you? It dumbs her down. So look at this, dumb jock, right? Dumb jock faces, jackass face, trance-like face. Various pictures of various substances that induce various looks that are drawn in these pictures. And regular pictures of people who say trance-like states, right? They say the synagogue of Satan, right? Marijuana, okay, cocaine, beer. They induce different states of mind. So you need to understand, part of the reason why it's called consent, okay, is that, you're supposed to be in a sober state of mind to consent. So they're making it hard for me to make this video. Everyone think slower, okay? Here over here, we see a ditzy bimbo. That's what it's called here, at least. That's what the person who made the book, right? It says Erica Timms. I assume that's the author of a book called Ditzy Bimbos. Here we have Greek hero cults. Look at their face. Gender neutral, kind of unfocused, trance-like state. The Greeks and the Romans used to inhale chemicals to put themselves in different states of mind so they could quote unquote prophesy. That's to be contrasted with my Royal African Falcon martial art argument, where it has to do with focusing intensely on reality and getting to the essence of reality, like a falcon focusing on the earth, right? Just focusing on details, something flying away from the earth, something coming down to earth, focusing on the smaller birds that's going to hunt and dive at 242 miles an hour. So unfocused, which doesn't allow for true cognition and consent, versus the idea of focusing, which they made it difficult for me to show in my videos because they try to show a trance-like state. For example, this picture did not look like a trance-like state before they edited it. Okay, it was really a very focused. It didn't look like, you could tell that my brain was working with my eyes effectively, where there seems to be a disassociation where the eyes just happen to look intense. Okay, that's not what I'm talking about when I mean focused, moral intensity. To date, there isn't a single picture of anybody from any race, any country, any culture, any religion that does a good job of showing how I used to look when my eyes were focused. So no one has achieved the same degree of focused intensity, focused moral intensity as I have, so they don't quite understand it from that perspective. Okay, the ability to truly see effectively better than other people, where other people have kind of blurred vision, so to speak. Okay, I had penetrating vision, penetrating sight, penetrating literal mental vision, brain vision. Frontal lobe, okay? Judgments, decisions, processing what I was seeing with a certain determination and focus. Okay? These people have to fume me and covertly drug me to confuse us. So when I try to say this to women, right, they're not going to hear me. If I go in public, I'm going to get looks like these. They're going to look at me like this because they've been told not to talk to me. I made a very serious and focused effort in this community while I'm being persecuted, and lots of people have been told by their political groups, their social groups, their gangs, their corporate groups, law enforcement, military, intelligence agencies, networks, and assets. They've been told to get in my way and try to make it seem like I'm crazy and not to help me out, even and especially in regards to doing women justice. So here we see the Disney, right? These kind of scantily clad women who are dressed like modern sluts. We'll get into that. And they're being put in a trance-like state by a snake, which has to do with the ancient serpent, the devil, and the tree of knowledge, as opposed to the tree of life, the tree of knowledge of how to manipulate people. And we see people that look like this guy, okay, corporate kind of tricksters, troublemakers. They're very much involved. Military historically has been credited with mind control activities. We see the occult in Hollywood, you know, the labyrinth, right? The mental labyrinth, Daedalus' labyrinth, the Minotaur, Theseus, Ariadne, came from the Greek cult mythology stories. They are not just Greek mythology stories, they are Greek cult mythology stories. And notice how this guy is similar to these guys, almost identical to the blonde guy in Dumb and Dumber, Jim Carrey's sidekick. You look at that Greek cult picture, almost identical. See that? It's not a coincidence. Okay, here I put some females. This female, you know, for the contrast, so this female looks dumber than these three females here. And it has to do with facial expression, right? Emotional expression, which is also in the frontal lobe. Okay? Sexual behaviors, movements, ment meaning mind, problem solving, emotional expression, judgments. They are very much activities that occur in the frontal lobe, as well as the rest of the brain, because the brain is integrated. I'd compare the brain to like your bicep, okay? Except for there's more activity going on in one area than the other. The whole thing is connected. It's a muscle, right? It's active, but certain areas disproportionately control certain things. That's basically how it works. Okay. Here we have this picture. See this female looking very cruel. She's a little bit more in touch with reality in a sense, because she's more focused than Clueless over here, or these females over here. And notice she's cruel and evil. And that is like the model of society. It's the model of the globe. As the Bible would say, that Satan is the god of this world, and he's leading people astray and blinding people to the image of Christ. How? By messing up their brain function, by creating certain norms and subtle pressures, coercive power being expressed to varying degrees and in variations in various forms, and so on and so forth. Here we have, I believe this guy's name is Charles Mesmer, or Louis Mesmer. His last name is Mesmer, where we get the word mesmerism. Here he is practicing mesmerizing females before computers were invented. Here we have another, you know, a kind of magician trying to hypnotize somebody, mesmerize. And they've been studying with these things in the government and the occult and the corporations and magic tricksters and all kinds of different people, weirdos and scumbags alike. Okay, and where they overlap. They've been studying these things for the purpose of manipulating people. Gaslighting, manipulating, getting them to take on philosophies like shadow psychology so they can control them and abuse them. And you see this female here, it's a horror movie, and she in the movie is abusing this female who makes that look on her face. That's also shows brain function. Okay, obviously. She's scared, she's panicking, right? Pan is a deity, we'll get to that shortly. And it's where we get the word panic, and pandemic, and pansexual, and pandemonium. Panties, believe it or not. Okay. So now let's go over here, and let's overkill some more. Here we have the kids, right? They're dressed like sluts. Okay, showing the belly. Historically, most people would agree that that's slutty clothes. People's parents would say, go change your clothes, young lady, especially if they were that young. Say, no daughter of mine is going to walk around looking like a slut, because it was seen as second rate, and it still is. Second class. If you have to use, sex to make money instead of using your head, people frown on it. Here we have a depiction of a sex cult in the occult, where the occult, secret, and secretion overlap. A secret society sex cult. See, this guy thinks he's like the Riddler. It overlaps with Hollywood and DC Comics and Marvel and the entertainment industry. Okay? Here we have this chick says, dumb me, right? Notice her facial expression. Again, frontal lobe, judgments, sexual behaviors, expression. Here we have this says, a groupie. A groupie is also a dummy. Here we have betas, right? They don't have the kind of focus and heart to be serious and be determined and do something great. See how these females here, say we'll focus on this little girl right here, and focus on this female, must be in her 20s, right? These are, I believe these are NFL cheerleaders. Okay. Here we have Dionysus. This one's key. Write this down. Dionysus, ritual of madness, the harvest, grapes, wine, religious ecstasy, and the whore that rode the beast. And she's on a bunch of panthers. And Dionysus infamously rides the panther. And here we have, it's kind of gender neutral, a female who might very well represent Dionysus, probably not. And she's by a panther, right? A leopard. Okay. Here again, from the Bible, the whore that rode the beast. Here we have Dionysus depicted in a way that's nearly identical to Christ. Here we have him looking more like an English person. Is he English or Greek? Kind of thing. Okay? We are British! You see what I'm saying? Kind of thing going on. Okay. Here we have this female. Looks like, this Jezebel-like whore that rides the beast in Revelation. And she looks nearly identical to these cheerleaders. And here we have a female making a face like, well, these people are weird, right? What are they doing? What are they doing? It's Greek cult, ritual, madness, Dionysus from Dios, another name for Zeus. His name means a young Zeus. And that's why God is depicted as Zeus in the Sistine Chapel. Here's the son of Zeus, or a young Zeus, Dionysus. And he resembles the fake image of Jesus. Here we have Pan. That's why angels are depicted as fairies, trying to manipulate psyche, where we get the word psychology. How do we know he's trying to manipulate her? It's his nature. In fact, here's Pan trying to rape somebody. And his name means all for all the Greco-Roman deities, which means he had his part in the rape of the Sabines as well, which is depicted by this statue. When the Romans, guided by Jupiter, who's the Roman version of Zeus, set the Sabine women up to be kidnapped and raped at some kind of an event, a sporting event or some kind of a community or a group event. Here we have Pan. He looks like he's going after Artemis or something like this, some kind of archer woman nonetheless. He's surprised, right? He set her up. He sprung his trap. Here he is trying to get her to come into the trap. Here he's springing the trap. And there's other things of him, other depictions of him raping and coercing and so on and so forth. Okay. Here we have the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders. Look at their faces. Disassociated. It's more than just genetics. It's a mix of genetics, nature and nurture, genetics and conditioning, cultural conditioning, social conditioning. Here we have a bunch of sorority chicks. See their faces, disassociated. Kind of Greek, fake conceptions of Christianity and life and culture in general, where they just disassociate. Here we have some Olympic female. The Greeks, the Greek in Olympics, Mount Olympus. And she's disassociated. I put some kind of businesswoman who looks disassociated there as well. In fact, in some forms of learning, it can actually be easier to learn in a disassociated state. That's part of why people who look like that sometimes get all A's or something. Here we have the movie Smile, and notice she has a certain look on her face that reflects her mental state. It's more than just a smile. It's an expression of emotion, and there's electrical activity and energy associated to it. And you put it in its context, you can figure out how she actually feels and more or less how smart she is just by looking at it. If you get used to it like I have, and you get good at it. But even the amateur can sort of predict it, right? FBI agents, for example, they study behavior, people in airports, and so on and so forth. Okay. And here's another depiction, right? It's a depiction of a doll, right? Doll, to be doll, and doll, D-O-L-L-A. Okay. And a female that looks like a doll, and it says it's from the movie Smile. Who knows what it's from? And you can see that it has to do with dissociative trance-like states. And of course, in psychiatry, you have orders: dissociative identity disorder, psychosis, disassociation, psychotic behavior, schizophrenia, schizoaffective, and things of this nature. Okay, I think that is pretty good for now. Let me just hit you with a couple more. One more, and we'll wrap this up. Here's the sex kitten program that people, claim to exist. It's been a while since I researched this, but it certainly is associated with Dionysus. All the signs are there that the CIA and different government groups are actually involved in this. And, there's Greek fraternities and sororities all in society. There's a Club of Rome. There's powerful groups in society that are part of major corporate partnerships, big time. They basically run them. So we have no reason to believe that these programs don't exist. Maybe this exact program doesn't exist, but certainly government behavioral control programs exist, especially under the guise of national security and public safety and so on and so forth. And here's a shuffle dance video with 376,000 views. There's ones with millions of views. And notice they have some kind of trance-like state, which is similar to this Maconan music video where they have some kind of Roman cult masks on. Okay, so in this video, I've proven definitively that there is a serious problem with mind control and people having different, not able to consent.